Welcome everyone. Today is going to be a warrior training day. Are you ready for this? Now, what is the most powerful thing I could talk to you about right now that is really going to help you? That is not going to provide just a temporary band-aid solution to a particular problem that you might have, but it's really going to help you cement one of the strongest foundations humanly possible when it comes to living life on this planet. I'm not just referring to success, I'm referring to the way in which you actually live your life to have a manifestation power that allows you to bring an element of magic into your existence, into your life, that few people on our planet will truthfully experience or will ever really know. You are going to have the opportunity to make a choice. You have these two choices right now about how you want to live your life. This goes for men and for women. Choice number one, you can choose to be an average man or an average woman. Let me explain. The life of an average man or woman is not very difficult. Most of the time they spend their days working, listening to someone else telling them what to do, then they get home from work and they just want to relax, take it easy, so they watch some TV where someone else tells them what to think all day long. For most of their life, the average man or average woman avoids anything that is truthfully difficult. They look to just have a nice, easy, relaxing time, and they are most often told what to do and what to think through a variety of different authorities and influences in their lives. Hopefully they make enough money in the monetary world to get by and live comfortably. That's obviously becoming more and more difficult. Now, of course, there are a lot of other things about living the average life of an average man or average woman, which are nice. Average occasions and nice little pleasures is not all bad. But is that life? When you live the life of an average man or an average woman, you will only know a fraction of what's truthfully available to you in terms of genuine fulfillment, absolute joy, and magical possibilities. Choice number two, and I'm going to warn you right now, choice number two is no walk in the park. Choice number two makes choice number one look like a child's play, because that is what it is. Choice number two is also going to be the most difficult possible path you might ever walk or could even attempt to walk in your lifetime. Choice number two is going to challenge you to your very core. It will show you what you are made of. And on so many different occasions, it's probably going to make you want to turn around, run away, and cower behind your mummy because you are going to be so afraid and scared at whether or not you can really pull it off. Do you want to know what choice number two is? Choice number two is what we call the path of the warrior. The path of the warrior is extremely ancient knowledge. I'm not making any of this stuff up that I'm sharing with you today. Okay? This is what we have learned along the way of studying the path of the warrior. When I say warrior, I'm not talking about some sort of exciting, warmongering or unpeaceful state of being. What I'm really talking about when I say warrior is an internal commitment. It's an internal choice that one has made to live a life of complete impeccability. Because it's only through living a life of complete impeccability that you will ever even access a remote fraction of what you are capable of. Let me explain a little bit more. Most of average men and average women squander their energy every chance they get. They squander their precious life energy worrying all day about some crappy drama, thinking all day in their heads about the future or about the past, wasting their emotional energy in arguments or fights or whatever it may be. Most of average men and average women deplete themselves of their vital mental, emotional, physical and spiritual energy on a daily basis. Therefore, they walk through life with no real internal power. They walk through life with no true power to actually go out and create much of anything at all. They usually have just enough power to get through the routines of their life because they squander all their energy, On the contrary, warriors are smarter than this. Warriors understand that there is not an unlimited, infinite amount of energy contained within our limited beings. As an absolute yes, our potential is unlimited, but manifests on this physical plane. Clearly, this is what we are working with. We are on this physical plane a limited being, and as such, we only have a limited amount of energy and time. The difference between warriors and average men and women is that warriors understand this, and they choose to store their energy. They choose to create more energy. They choose not to squander their energy on all the mundane, trivial, and often foolish things that average men and average women squander their energy on. As such, warriors create tremendous internal power, and when a warrior creates tremendous internal power, he or she is capable of things that the average man and average woman will never be capable of. It's not because of any actual difference in possibility, only a difference in lifestyle, only a difference in the choice the warrior has made to live an impeccable life and to actually store, create, and build upon their natural energy. What do we mean by energy? A lot of people might still be a little unfamiliar with this concept. Every single thing existing in this universe is energy. You already know it if you read any scientific book, but science is only going to share a brief layer of just how much energy everything actually is. This is the reason science is afraid to venture beyond what it can prove. But since maybe 99.90% of the universe is completely unknown, and of which we don't have any possible way to know anything about, okay? There is no telescope, no instruments, no tools that could possibly measure the scope of this universe or tell us much more about what is visibly in front of us. Hopefully you can get an understanding that science is actually quite limited. Yet, if all you depend on for your information is what somebody has told you in a textbook, you probably don't have a very rich amount of personal experience and knowledge that you have gained from your life. Because the only true knowledge that matters is not what somebody tells you in a textbook. The only true knowledge that matters is what you have learned from your personal experience. If your knowledge has not been derived from your personal experience, then I hate to break it out to you, but it's flat out useless. People who think they are smart because they have some sort of fancy degree, because they can recite a bunch of things they learned from a textbook and walk around with a level of intellectual arrogance, are exactly that, arrogant people. But when it comes to reality and what they actually know that is useful, it's very little, because the only useful knowledge is born from personal experience. Let me share a story with you I read in a great book called The Art of Living. There was once this young professor who was making a sea voyage. He was a highly educated man with a long tray of letters after his name, but he had very little experience of life. Now, in the crew of the ship on which he was traveling, there was an uneducated old sailor. Now, every evening, the sailor would visit the cabin of the young professor to listen to him talk on many different subjects. He was very impressed with the learning of the young man. Now, one evening, as the sailor was about to leave the cabin after several hours of conversation, the professor asked, "Old man, have you studied geology?" "What's that, sir?" "The science of the earth." "No, sir. I have never been to any school or college. I have never studied anything, sir." "Old man, you have wasted a quarter of your life." And with a long face, the old sailor went away. Well, if such a learned person says so, certainly it must be true, he thought. I have wasted a quarter of my life. Next evening again, as the sailor was about to leave the cabin, the professor asked him, "Old man, have you studied oceanography?" "What's that, sir?" "The science of the sea." "No, sir. I have never studied anything, sir." "Old man, you have wasted half your life." With a still longer face, the sailor went away. I have wasted half my life. This learned man says so. Next evening, once again, the young professor questioned the old sailor. Old man, have you studied meteorology? What is that, sir? I have never even heard of it. Why? The science of the wind, the rain, the weather. No, sir. As I told you, I have never been to any school. I have never studied anything. You have not studied the science of the earth on which you live. You have not studied the science of the sea on which you earn your livelihood. You have not studied the science of the weather which you encounter every day. Old man, you have wasted 3/4 of your life. The old sailor was very unhappy. This learned man says that I have wasted 3/4 of my life, so certainly I must have. Now, the next day it was the turn of the old sailor. He came running to the cabin of the young man and cried, Professor sir, have you studied swimology? Swimology? What do you mean? Can you swim, sir? No, I don't know how to swim. Professor sir, you have wasted your whole life. The ship has struck a rock and is sinking. Those who can swim may reach the nearby shore, but those who cannot swim will drown. I'm so sorry, Professor sir, you have surely lost your whole life. Now, you may study all the ologies of the world, but if you don't learn swimology, all your studies are useless. You may read and write books on swimming. You may debate on its subtle and theoretical aspects, but how will that help if you refuse to enter the water yourself? You must learn how to swim. Practice and personal experience is the only knowledge that is worthwhile whatsoever. Living the warrior's lifestyle opens up to you the ability to actually gain personal experience and knowledge in areas that science knows little about. Just have some water here. Now, the activities I choose to do for most of my life and most of my daily time are all activities that build and create more energy. They are activities that actually empower me to go and create out in the world. That's why I'm able to create. Creation is really just infusing something with energy, whereas a lot of people who don't have as much energy are not able to do so. There is no real difference. It's just that I live my life committed to the warrior's path, which is the path of building and creating internal power. And because of that, I have built and create a lot of internal power, which I can then infuse into my work. Now, what does this have to do with success? Because a lot of it has to do with a lot of different things outside of success. Well, depending on the way you look at life. Now, to me, obtaining a lot of internal power and freedom and awareness of what's actually going on in the universe and awareness of yourself in your own infinite nature, that to me is success. If one has attained that, you have attained a heck of a lot more than money will ever be able to buy you. But let's put that aside for a second. And let's talk about financial, monetary success. Success, the way I see it and have experienced it, is incredibly correlated to the path of the warrior. Let me tell you why. Success, just like the path of the warrior, is going to demand an incredible amount from you. The field of success is riddled with dead bodies. Most of people who attempt to create success in their lifetime will not do it. Most of people are choosing to approach success from their old habits and their old mindset of being an average man or an average woman. Well, I have news for you. You can't be average and expect to be successful. It doesn't work. The only way that you are successful is by being above average. Average people are dead bodies in terms of creating success. So if you want to hang on to all your average tendencies, if you want to hang on to your old habits and your old lifestyle and your old ways of thinking, then you can expect results that average people create when they approach the world of success. Today, you have a choice in how you want going to approach success. You already know choice number one is going to lead you absolutely nowhere. Well, that's not exactly true, okay? Choice number one is going to teach you a lot of lessons. Just like the warrior who charged into battle untrained in any war, they learned a lot, but the cost was their life. In success, you won't have to give your life per se, but you give your time, and you give your energy, and you give your money, and after giving all that, you will learn the lessons of the battle of success. In fact, many of us are at this point already. We learned that we are not able to win the battle with our old skill sets. We are not equipped to win the battle of success with all our old tendencies and old habits and old things that we have brought to the battle of success. That eventually leads us to failure, which is why failure is so absolutely important. Don't get me wrong. Warriors learn from challenge, and they learn from failure even more than the average man and average woman. In fact, it's only the warrior who really learns from challenge and failure, because most of people, when they fail, want to run and hide from it because they can't deal with the emotions of failing. Their identity is so trapped in failure that when they fail, they will actually ignore all the lessons that failure is trying to teach them because it's too painful. While the warrior feels the same thing, everybody feels the anguish of defeat. The warrior does not back down from it. He stays and takes it, accepts responsibility and says, okay, I have been defeated. Why? Where was I weak? What was I missing? What was I not seeing? What was my opponent doing better than me? Why was I defeated? A warrior learns from all this stuff. So there are a lot of difference between the warrior and the average man and average woman, which you can see right on the surface. However, the point here is that if you really want to, not just to learn from your failures and success, but you want to win the battle of success, which is really winning the battle for your freedom. And if you want to win the battle for your freedom, you have to train. What you essentially have to do is to become the warrior, because from what I have observed, it's only the warriors that really win the battle for success. There are not a lot of different ways to do this. I'm going to share with you one of the first and most important things about being a warrior right now. Once you make the choice to become a warrior, once you make the choice to walk the path, the warrior's path, to win the battle of success, here's the first and most important thing you have to do. You really need to take complete and total accountability and responsibility for every single thing you are doing in your life. This is the first and most important thing you must do as a warrior. You cannot put off the reason why anything is happening in your life any longer. There is no outside force. There is no outside factor. There is nothing. Warriors take complete and total accountability and responsibility for every single thing in their life. They take just as much responsibility for the defeat, the anguishes, the pains and the agonies as they take for their success. And it's through this process of taking total responsibility and total accountability that the warrior actually learns to stay and fight the battle for success rather than running. When forced to take total accountability for their life situations and life circumstances, most people will run. So imagine that you are on the battlefield and you are fighting your opponent. You are fighting to win your freedom. What's going to happen if you turn around and you run? Which is what most people do. You are not going to win the battle. You just gave up the battle. You quit. You are never going to have your freedom. because you didn't even have the courage and the strength to stay and face your opponent. The only way you can get better, the only way you can stay on the battlefield and learn from the scars and learn from the defeats that you have suffered under the blows of your opponent, it's by taking accountability first. You put your 2 feet down, you stand there and you say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving until this job is done. I don't care how many beatings I have to take. I don't care how many lashes I will suffer. I don't care how bad the anguish of the pain is. I'm not going anywhere until this is done. I'm not going anywhere until I have completed this job. That is the true hallmark of the warrior mindset. That is the true foundation for which any real lasting success in this industry is going to be built. I will guarantee you this right now, just in case you haven't already worked it out. You will be challenged on every single facet of your business. You will be challenged at every level of going from making nothing to making $100 a month. You will be challenged from 100 to 500. You will be challenged up to millions. You will be challenged up to hundreds of millions. You will be completely challenged at every facet of your success. What you need to understand is that you have a choice to make today. Number 1, average man, average woman. Number 2, path of the warrior. You make the choice. Your freedom will be determined by that. Thank you for your time, my friends. May all of you experience real peace, be happy, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.